When you're running a business, time is money, and you can save both with Stamps.com. You can access all of the amazing services of the post office without having to leave your own office. Print postage for any letter or any package right from your computer. You'll never underpay or overpay again, which will save you time and money that you can use to grow your business. It's so simple, so easy, and so convenient. You can create a Stamps.com account in minutes online with no equipment to lease and no long-term commitments. Then all you have to do is click, print, mail, and you're done. I use Stamps.com because my company pushes out a lot of packages. I don't have to send anyone to the post office. Stamps.com lets us keep going without losing a beat. And right now, you too can enjoy the Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in bunker. That's Stamps.com. Enter bunker.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Obama likes to say if Congress doesn't act, well, then he will. Well, in one important way, a federal appeals court in Washington, D.C. said today, actually, no, you won't. The 3-judge panel unanimously said, you don't have the power to declare the Senate in recess in order to make an appointment, or 3. Moreover, now that you've raised this issue, Mr. President, we're going to take a closer look at the appointment power and what you and other modern presidents have done to it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm intimately familiar with this case because there were a number of groups involved in this lawsuit, including mine, Landmark Legal Foundation. And my attorneys are the best in the business. They work very hard. They're underpaid. We do the best we can. We don't have sugar daddies like George Soros, although we have very generous donors. We don't have the government backing us. We're on our own. And I'm very proud of my folks at Landmark Legal Foundation. Because if you go to my social sites, Mark Levin Show Facebook, Mark Levin Show Twitter, you will see a link to our brief in this case and a number of other wonderful groups too. National Right to Work, I can't remember everybody. You will also see the decision of the court, which I also link to, and you will see the overlap in our brief and the court's ruling. This case was a case, not exactly a first impression, but close enough. You see, folks, Obama wants you to believe that he's just trying to do the right thing, that those who stand in his way are radicals and extremists, and that all the president was doing here was trying to fill vacancies because the Senate was blocking him. One of the so-called vacancies he sought to fill actually occurred literally a few days before he made the recess appointment. But it's a funny thing, our system. We have checks and balances. We have 3 co-equal branches of government. And sometimes you don't get what you want. And sometimes you have to negotiate. And sometimes you have to meet the other party halfway. Well, this is something Obama does not intend to do. He would much prefer to ignore the Constitution, which he sought to do here in what we call the Appointments Clause. Now, you see, ladies and gentlemen, the framers of the Constitution and the ratifiers of the Constitution, they thought, they debated, and they fought over this Appointments Clause. And they wanted to make sure that appointing high officials, including judges, but not exclusively judges, would be a joint enterprise. The president could propose, and the Senate would, as we say, dispose, with its advice and consent. This is a crucial aspect of separation of powers. This is a crucial aspect of preventing tyranny and ultimately totalitarianism. So much that's in the Constitution is intended to place checks on a president, so the president doesn't become a monarch, doesn't become imperial, because that was the experience of the framers when it came to the King of England. Well, Obama rejects all of this. He rejects our history. He rejects our Constitution. He rejects the give and take and the flow of politics. He seeks to rule with an iron fist. If the court had ruled for Obama in this case, what would be left of separation of powers? Now let's go through this, and I'll do this in as simple and straightforward way as I know how. I will point out that ABC Radio News at the top of the hour framed this as Republicans celebrating a court ruling. I guess we've reached the point where only Republicans, and only some of them, support the Constitution. Obviously, the reporters who are reporting on this, the pretend journalists, don't. They view this as a party thing, not a constitutional thing. Number one, the court said, the Senate was not actually in recess when the president unilaterally declared that it was. The Senate was not in recess. The House had not agreed to the recess. And both houses have to agree to the recess for there to be a recess. So Obama said, well, okay, fine, I declare that there is a recess. No president in American history has ever done that. None. Even more, number two, the Constitution states the recess. And this is the nub of the matter. And this was the nub of the brief filed by Landmark Legal Foundation. The recess. Not a recess, as if there's multiple recesses. Not recesses plural. The recess. So the recess refers to the singular recess. The singular recess that occurs between sessions of Congress. You've heard it said this is the 110th Congress or the 114th Congress, meaning for that 2-year period, it's a Congress that has been elected, and so it gets this number. We've had a first Congress, a second Congress, a third Congress, 100 and something or other Congress. But within that Congress, each year, Congress has a session. A session. Now, the sessions can be broken up when they have breaks, breaks for Christmas, for Easter, for long weekends, or whatever. So they have breaks in these sessions. But the recess, which historically was a 6 to 9 month period, is between the time when Congress actually met for about a year, recessed, members went home over the summer and so forth, and then they would come back to a new session of Congress. A recess doesn't occur when, say, the Senate takes a lunch break. That's a break in the session. Mark all these words. Well, all these words matter when you're litigating. All these words matter when you're reading the Constitution and you're looking at our history. They matter. It's not a small thing. The recess. And during the period when the Constitution was drafted, adopted by the Constitutional Convention, sent to the states, ratified by the states, they didn't have airplanes. For those of you liberals who like to talk about the Second Amendment. Oh, they didn't have tanks back then. Well, neither did they have airplanes, and the Acela and automobiles and so forth. They didn't even have trains. They mostly had horse and buggy. And they needed a lot of time to get back home, to get to their constituents, to get to their states, and to return. And they needed a lot of time to meet with their constituents and to go to various events and return to Washington. Or to return to the original capital. So during this period, this 6 to 9 month period, the framers thought, okay, look, there may be an occasion, there may be several occasions, when this affects the operations of government. So what we're going to do is, during this period of time, if a vacancy occurs, that's what the Constitution talks about. Vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate, quote unquote. Repeat, vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate, quote unquote, will have this provision in there. And that provision will allow, during the recess, not the lunch break, not the Christmas break, not the Easter break, during the recess, where the president could make, in essence, a temporary appointment, and that appointment ends at the end of the next session of Congress. So we're in a recess. The next session of Congress begins, let's just throw it out there, in September. It ends in June. Well, then the appointment lasts from September to June, and then it's over. For the first 80 years of our republic, for the first 80 years of our constitutional republic, there was not a single appointment made by a president claiming that a session of Congress, when they took a break for Christmas or whatever, was a recess period for which the president could make an appointment. So, for the first 80 years, this was understood. For the first 150 years of our constitutional republic, it only occurred 3 times. It shouldn't have occurred at all, but it only occurred 3 times. And you see, the reason is, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at it the other way. Let's pretend that this 3-judge panel, which voted 3-0 against Obama's power grab, let's pretend they're a bunch of liberals, like the 4 liberals on the Supreme Court, the activists, and they voted for Obama and his power grab. What would be left of the Appointments Clause? Obama could declare the Senate in recess when it's not, and make 50 appointments to the courts. Now, that would completely destroy the structure of the Constitution, the shared power to make appointments. The president doesn't have the power to make these appointments unilaterally. If Congress doesn't act, I will. That's exactly what the framers were rejecting, that kind of imperial presidency. I'm taking time to go through this so you can see just how outrageous this president is, just how dictatorial his mindset is, and just how pathetic the Democrat Party has become. Now, you might say, Mark, other presidents have done this. No other president has unilaterally declared that the Senate is in recess. None. If you say other presidents have abused the recess appointment clause, you're absolutely right. Republicans and Democrats. But Obama pushed the envelope's edge so far that Landmark Legal, other groups, and other parties decided, all right, it's time to deal with this. So it went to court. You see, Obama could have had pretty liberal leeway when it comes to these quote-unquote recess appointments, but he took it one step too far, as he always does. He said, I'm going to declare the Senate in recess. I'm going to make these appointments. Catch me if you can. Well, we caught you, pal, didn't we? Now, I suspect they may go to the Supreme Court. I suspect they may go to the Supreme Court. I hope they do. And we'll be there too, as will others. Let's institute this for all time. I've got more on this when I return.
Mark Levin.
Jay Carney today, being the constitutional expert that he is, he said this is a very novel decision. Well, it's novel in the sense that we're dealing with an imperial president, and we actually have a court, unlike John Roberts. We actually have a court that stood up to the president and actually enforced the Constitution. Here's what the spokesidiot Jay Carney said today. Cut 6, go.
The decision is novel and unprecedented. It contradicts 150 years of practice by Democratic and Republican administrations. So we respectfully but strongly disagree with the rulings. There have been, according to the Congressional Research Service, something like 280 plus intra-session recess appointments by, again, Democratic and Republican administrations dating back to 1867. That's a long time and quite a significant precedent.
All right, enough of him. Actually, we and the court and others looked very, very closely at this quote-unquote precedent. And as I said, for the first 80 years, there was no precedent. And as the court said today, and rightly so, the fact that during our modern period, presidents have misused the recess appointment authority doesn't change the Constitution. And what the spokesidiot doesn't point out is if Obama had not been so brazen, and the only president since the Constitution's ratification to declare the Senate in recess so he could make his appointments. You see, the Senate gets to declare its own recess. It would be like the Senate declaring that the president's in recess or something. Since Obama went further than any president in American history, the matter was taken to court. That's what makes it unprecedented, Obama. And as we filed in our brief, and as the court said in its opinion, okay, now we're required to take a look at this. So while there was some ambiguity, perhaps, some gray area, not in terms of the Constitution, but in terms of practice, Obama blew it all up. And so now, if the Supreme Court, if 5 justices have their heads screwed on right, so now the Supreme Court, if it's challenged, should uphold this. And now the president's power, the appointment power, will have to actually comply with the Constitution. No longer can they abuse the recess power to make appointments without the advice and consent of the United States Senate. It's a shared power. That's exactly what the framers and the ratifiers wanted, and it's exactly what Obama rejects. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, the cure for the common liberal. Talk to Mark now at 877-381-3811.
By the way, what this decision also means is the Senate doesn't have to play games anymore. If this decision stands, either with the Supreme Court or is not appealed to the Supreme Court, the Senate doesn't have to have one person on the floor all the time to keep the Senate in session. Because the court pointed out, the framers understood, it would be improper to obligate the Senate to be in continual session. You know, there are times when the Senate needs to break. Whether it's for lunch, whether it's for a long weekend, whether it's for a holiday. That's not the same thing as the recess. the formal recess period between sessions. Not breaks within sessions, but the long period between sessions. And it all makes sense if you think about it. It all makes sense because this is exactly what the framers intended. It's also exactly what the Constitution says. Now, a year ago, when Obama did what Obama did, well, I commented on it. I was pretty furious about it. And I want to hat tip to our buddy Brian over at Right Scoop, who reminded me of this. When Obama did this, I took to the airwaves. It was January 4, 2012. Cut one, go. He decided to do more of it. There are 3 vacancies on the National Labor Relations Board. You remember that board that was trying to stop Boeing from building a plant in South Carolina? That board that is totally and completely out of control, and they in the back pockets of the union bosses? Congress gives its advice and consent, or it rejects nominees. That is, it doesn't give its consent. It's not there as a rubber stamp. What Obama's saying is, if you're not going to approve who I send to you, I'll appoint them anyway. Have you ever heard of anything like this? Nobody has. Nobody. This guy makes Richard Nixon look like a passive office holder, withholding funds, declaring laws unconstitutional and refusing to enforce them, appointing czars, refusing to uphold voter ID laws to ensure the integrity of our voting system. And now this, unilaterally appointing people to positions where the Constitution says he doesn't have the power to unilaterally appoint. Well, I've decided Congress is in session, so I'm appointing you and you and you and you. Let the law catch up with me. This was bound to happen. And the law, for once, has caught up with them, at least for now. There was more. January 4, 2012, during the program, cut to go. So this president is exercising powers that are not granted to him under the Constitution. So let me make a suggestion. Those of you who have to deal with this new phony consumer finance institution, those of you who have to deal with the National Labor Relations Board, any decisions that come down from these entities, any regulations that come from these entities, sue them. I'm helping as a litigator. Sue them because they're acting ultra vires. They're acting without authority because the people at the top of these entities making these decisions are not holding office under the Constitution. You, the people who are affected, the groups, the businesses who are affected by these entities, you have the power to litigate against them. Do it. Do it. And if you're large and you have a budget for this, every time they issue a decision, a regulation that adversely affects you, sue them and challenge their authority to make these decisions, given the unconstitutional nature of the appointments of the people who oversee these entities. I know what I'm talking about. I don't have standing to do it because I don't have any issues in front of these fools. But those of you who do, Chamber of Commerce, individuals, you do have that power. And all the rest of us, we have a power too, to throw these bastards out of office before it's too late. Well, somebody was listening because challenges were brought in court. And not wanting to sit idly by, as I never do, when there are major constitutional matters to be resolved, Landmark Legal Foundation and our great lawyers there, we petitioned the court and participated in this litigation in a brief, an amicus brief, which apparently the court found very convincing, since so much of the court's decision tracked the arguments that we made in that brief. One more point I made January 4, 2012, over a year ago when Obama took his dictatorial step to unilaterally assert that the Senate was in recess and make these appointments. Cut 3, go. We don't have to agree when the country's going to hell, ladies and gentlemen. We can go down with a fight, if we go down at all. This Constitution belongs to you, the people. This government belongs to you, the people. Every damn branch of it, every damn office. These temporary politicians and these permanent bureaucrats, they don't get to rule over you. You rule over them. And we have got to get this mindset, this psychology right. We've got to preach it and spread it. Or people like Obama will keep giving speeches how he's looking out for the middle class. How he's not going to let a minority stand in his way. How he's not going to let a do-nothing Congress stop him. The road to dictatorship is paved with poisonous language like his, ladies and gentlemen. I never thought I'd be talking like this behind this microphone. But I don't think it is either virtuous or noble to pretend that what is going on is not going on. Because it is going on. Because it is going on. And it's still going on. Oh, I'm back live, by the way. Now, when Obama did what he did, he spoke at the Shaker Heights High School in Ohio. Same date, January 4, 2012, over a year ago. And at that time, here's what he said. Cut 4, go.
But when Congress refuses to act, and as a result hurts our economy and puts our people at risk, then I have an obligation as president to do what I can without them. I've got an obligation to act on behalf of the American people. And I'm not going to stand by while a minority in the Senate puts party ideology ahead of the people that we were elected to serve. Not with so much at stake.
These are the words, let me be blunt, let me be clear, of a dictator. That's correct. That's correct. The Constitution does not give him the power. It doesn't grant him the authority to do what he just declared. And the court just told him as much. But listen to him. His mindset. But he said more. That same day, at that high school. Cut 5, go.
Now, every day that Richard waited to be confirmed, and we were pretty patient, every day that we waited was another day when millions of Americans were left unprotected.
Stop. Notice. He seizes power, he believes. He seizes power in your name. He seizes power because he wants to do so much good. And the people on the other side, the Republicans, just won't let him. And the Constitution just won't let him. He wants to do so much good. And he's going to do it whether the opposition party likes it or not, whether the Constitution permits him to do it or not, he's going to do it. Right, John Roberts? Continue, please. Go.
Because without a director in place, the consumer watchdog agency that we've set up doesn't have all the tools it needs to protect consumers against dishonest mortgage brokers or payday lenders and debt collectors who are taking advantage of consumers. And that's inexcusable.
Yes.
It's wrong. I refuse to take no for an answer.
I refuse to take no for an answer. You see, because the people I'm going to appoint are looking out for you, the little guy, against the mortgage cheaters, against the banks, against the people I'm going to appoint are going to help you. And I don't give a damn what this process is. I don't give a damn that I took an oath to uphold the Constitution. By God, I don't take no for an answer. And I'm going to appoint these people because they're going to help you. If I put that in Spanish, it would be Fidel Castro or Hugo Chavez. And the people cheering, yes, tell him, Barack. Tell him, Barack. This guy, Richard Cordray, was not part of this litigation. That's separate litigation that's taking place in the same circuit in Washington, D.C. He's being challenged, too. What Obama did was unlawful. What Obama did was unconstitutional. And then his spokes idiot comes to the microphone today and he says, what the court did is unprecedented. It's novel, with all due respect. You know what, Mr. Producer? In some sense, as I think about this, I agree with him. It is novel. We actually have a federal circuit court that stood up to this president, who was brazenly violating the Constitution, pounding his chest about how he was violating it, how he was going to continue to violate it, and these 3 circuit court judges had the guts to stand up to him, unlike John Roberts on the U.S. Supreme Court when it came to Obamacare. Who crumbled? Who crumbled? Oh, yes. Today is a good day. There won't be many under this presidency, ladies and gentlemen, but today's a good day. We get one more day to defend at least this little slice of the Constitution, this little piece. And tomorrow, Sunday, and the day after that, Obama's thugs, which includes the pretend journalists, the pretend professors, the propagandists, they'll be all over television telling you it was a Republican victory, as if that's what it's all about. Telling you that what the court did was really, really novel and extreme. The talking points will go out, and the propagandists will spew, because that's what they do. And at the top of the hour, you'll hear the reports again. Great victory for the Republicans. Not a victory for the Republic, not a victory for the constitutionalists out there, not a victory for the rule of law, but a victory for the Republicans, you see. Let me suggest this to you pretend journalists. Someday we will have a Republican president, and the same decision that was issued today by the unanimous 3-judge panel of the Circuit Court will apply to the Republican president too. And the Republican president will have to comply with the Constitution too. So it's not a victory for the Republicans, it's a victory for we the people. You damn fools. They're reporting on a decision I doubt they've even read. In fact, I heard on my good friend Sean Hannity's show a conservative going on and on about what a bad decision this was, and that person hadn't even read the decision. Unbelievable. Let's talk about the liberal media while we're at it. The so-called objective news media. Friends, the media's main goal is not to report the news. Their main goal is to advance a radical left-wing agenda. They're propagandists for the American left. It's as simple as that. And the Media Research Center has been a leader in the conservative movement for over a quarter of a century by exposing how the media distort and censor the news. Look at what they're doing on gun control. They're openly hostile to law-abiding gun owners and those of us who support the Second Amendment. They're orchestrating a vicious anti-gun propaganda campaign disguised as news. The Media Research Center works around the clock to expose the media's central role in advancing the Obama administration's agenda, whether it's gun control or unconstitutional appointments or taxes and spending, whatever the left's cause. The media are behind it 100%. I want you to go to mediaofmasscorruption.com. It's a long word, single word, mediaofmasscorruption.com, to find out how you can help the MRC fight the liberal media. Sign up now at mediaofmasscorruption.com to help the MRC render the liberal media irrelevant. That's mediaofmasscorruption.com.
Mark Levin.
Anna, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, the great Sirius satellite. Go.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for taking my call. I'm just calling because I totally agree with you with Obama, not trying to use his power in the wrong way. But how do you feel about the Republicans trying to rig elections with gerrymandering? Don't you think they're using their power?
Do you know what does gerrymandering have to do with the federal Constitution's explicit structure? Gerrymandering has been going on. Do you know what gerrymander's named after?
I don't know and I don't care. I just don't.
Well, that's because you're ignorant. So I will explain it anyway. I don't know and I don't care. You sound like Hillary Clinton.
No, that's.
I was named. Excuse you. Then Governor Elbridge Gerry of Massachusetts. He was gerrymandering the districts. It's named after him in Massachusetts, the state Senate districts. Gerrymandering has been going on since the beginning of our republic. It is a political process. It has zero to do with the Constitution, whereas the appointment clause has everything to do with the Constitution. So why do you feel the need to argue in the alternative? Let's talk about the appointments clause, shall we? Maybe you don't care, but I do. The question is this to you, ma'am. Can you name another president of the United States of any party who has ever declared the United States Senate in recess? Go.
Bush.
When did Bush do it?
Bush did it.
Get out of here, you idiot. You don't even know what you're talking about. Bush. It's like Pavlov's dog, Mr. Producer. When in doubt, use Bush's name. Yeah, like Obama. What's with the economy? Bush. No president has ever done it. Bush. No, he didn't do it either. Neither did his daddy. Let's see here. What do we have here? Oh, we have another. Chris, Long Island, the great WABC. Go. Can you name another president who's ever done this?
Yeah, well, that's not the reason I called. The reason
I don't give a damn. I'll get to your reason in a second. Try and answer the question.
Wow, that's friendly.
Can you name I'm not friendly. I don't like liberals. You're destroying my country. Now, let's see if we can work this through. Can you name another president ever who has unilaterally declared Congress in recess or the Senate in recess? Yes or no?
I have no idea. That's not why I called.
All right. What is your question, sir?
It's not a question. It's a statement. You have the
all right. Have a good night. Let's see. Who else do we have here? That's it? He wanted to talk about Bush and Cheney. Is that correct, Mr. Call Screener? You awake, Mr. Call Screener? He wanted to talk about Bush and Cheney? Well, what do Bush and Cheney have to do with this? Did Bush or Cheney? The liberals are nuts. Which is why I've been calling them drones for the longest time. He wanted to school me on Bush and Cheney. I don't want to talk about Bush and Cheney. The other lady, when pinned to the wall, her answer is Bush. Bush has nothing to do with this. Let me repeat. No president in American history but this one, Barack Hussein Obama, has unilaterally declared the Senate in recess when it wasn't for the purpose of making unconstitutional appointments. Thank me very much. I'll be right.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
No, I have zero patience for the drones who cheer for tyranny. I don't. Let them call somebody else. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mark Levin. The number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. If people are earnestly trying to learn and understand and aren't with us, quote unquote, then I want to talk to them. But if they're going to call and just do the Bush and Cheney stuff, that's a waste of time, ladies and gentlemen. It's a waste of time. Let them talk to each other. They're the drones. The absolute drones. These will be the clapping seals as the nation spirals into greater and greater tyranny and financial dislocation. They'll be applauding. Tax the rich while the country's gone to hell. You know, I can't connect with these people. My question on this appointment authority is this. What's the point of shared appointment authority, the president and the Senate. If a president can unilaterally appoint someone during a break in a congressional session, which he unilaterally declares to be a recess for the purpose of filling a vacancy that occurred when the Senate was still in session, it completely rewrites the appointments clause of the Constitution, just as John Roberts and the 4 left-wing activist justices on the Supreme Court rewrote the tax clause of the Constitution. What we have here is a roving constitutional convention without the benefit of us selecting our delegates. What we have here is constitutional amendment without going through the amendment process. And it's happening because the president makes a declaration, or the Supreme Court writes a joke of an opinion, or some agency issues some regulation, and all of a sudden the Constitution's been amended and we have no say. That's why fights like this are so crucial. Are they going to stop Obama ultimately? No. But these little battles must be fought to slow him down until he's out of office. That's absolutely crucial. Now, I want to point out the dictatorial nature of this administration, this president and his appointees. So the D.C. Circuit Court, the appellate court, the only other place you can go now is the Supreme Court, has issued its ruling, or this panel has issued its ruling, the power of the court. And as the Washington Examiner reports, Mark Gaston Pierce. Do you know who Mark Gaston Pierce is, Mr. Producer? Nobody does. He's the chairman of the National Labor Relations Board. This guy has enormous influence over our workplace. He issued the following statement in reaction to the court's ruling, and this court's ruling is the rule of law unless the Supreme Court changes it. He indicated that the National Labor Relations Board will attempt to continue what it's doing regardless of this court's ruling. Quote, the board respectfully disagrees with today's decision and believes that the president's position in the matter will ultimately be upheld. It should be noted that this order applies to only one specific case, and that similar questions have been raised in more than a dozen cases pending in other courts of appeals. In the meantime, the board has important work to do. The parties who come to us seek and expect careful consideration and resolution of their cases, and for that reason, we will continue to perform our statutory duties and issue decisions. This court ruled that these appointments were unconstitutional, which is why the decision in the specific case by the NLRB has been vacated. But the court ruled, in order to get to that point, that these appointments by Obama were unconstitutional. And those who've been appointed to the board unconstitutionally have just announced that they are going to defy this Federal Circuit Court's decision. And they have said that it only applies to this case and not all the others. Really? Really? I would like to suggest that the House of Representatives... John Boehner, are you awake? Yellow. I would like to suggest that John Boehner and the boys and girls there in the Republican caucus, or whatever they call themselves, propose an independent bill, not part of some slop, an independent bill to defund the National Labor Relations Board, because it is, as of today, a rogue agency. It is a rogue agency. I have no expectation that Harry Reid and the other numbskulls in the Senate will support it, because they believe in rogue government. They're behind it. But the Republicans need to send a message, and they need to send it now, and I am encouraging them, I am urging them right now put up a bill to defund the National Labor Relations Board because it is defying a circuit court decision. It says it's going to continue to make rulings in cases, even though it does not have a quorum, even though 3 of its members sit there illegally. You have got to stand up to this. The President of the United States. Mr. President, all your drones who listen to this program and take careful notes, are you authorizing the National Labor Relations Board, which does not have a quorum as of today, and its 3 illegal members who are continuing to sit in judgment? Are you authorizing them? Are you encouraging them to continue in their unconstitutional acts, despite the fact that a federal court has ruled that you didn't have the power to appoint them? Because, sir, if you are, it's an impeachable offense. Once again, the system's broken. I do not expect the Republicans to stand up for the Constitution. But I'll continue to do it in my capacity regardless. Now we have a court order. Fair and square. Obama wanted this to go to court. Obama provoked it. It went to court, and he lost. And his appointees are saying, oh, no. The court only meant to decide the individual case and the ruling in the case before us, not everything else. No, that's simply not correct. The court specifically said that these appointments, your appointments, are without authority. They're in violation of the Constitution. The NLRB strategy, as the Washington Examiner points out, is to act as if the court's ruling that the appointments were unconstitutional somehow only applies to the particular case that went before the appeals court, and hope that the White House can get the Supreme Court to quickly review the case. Brazen, lawless, rogue, dictatorial. At the top of the news, the top of the hour, you won't hear any of this. What you will hear is that the Republicans won a lawsuit against Obama. You won't hear any discussion on the Sunday shows about an imperial president and his imperial administration defying the Constitution. You will not hear this from David Gregory or Bob Schiffless or whatever his name is, Bob Schieffer. What's the little munchkin's name? What's his name? Or George Stephanopoulos, the Obama, Clinton enforcer. I get confused with all these tyrannies. You won't hear a word from the media because the media love it. The media love tyranny. As long as they can be the stenographers and take out the words of the imperial president, they love it. They're all goo-goo gaga for it. And I talked about that earlier this week, the New York Slimes. Covering up the Holocaust. Promoting Castro as a small d Democrat. Covering up the Soviet massacres, including the 7 million murdered in the Ukraine. Covering it up. Promoting the dictators. This is what they do. The only part of the Constitution the media care about is the one that protects them. Freedom of the press. The rest of it, they could care less. And they go along with the rewriting of the Constitution. The part about abortion and invisible ink. That's good. That's good. Obamacare. Yes, that's good. And all the rest of it. So they'll be silent about that. That's why this program will never be silent about any of it. Period. Obama seeks to destroy the Constitution and its very structure, piece by piece. The Democrat Party goes along. Tens of millions of people go along. You hear several of them call this program, like the recent 2 drones an hour ago. And now the National Labor Relations Board itself has said, we don't care what the court ruled. See, if the court had ruled for them, they'd be waving around the decision and say, see this? This is terrific. But the court rules against them. and they say, see this? This has nothing to do with us. In other words, they can never lose. Even when they lose elections, they never lose because they squirrel themselves into the bureaucracy, into the judgeships, and advance their agenda in spite of the will of the people. And when they win, they just put it in hyper mode. They load up the bureaucracy with ideologues. If they can't get something through Congress, they act independently. And now we have a rogue National Labor Relations Board. Let me repeat what I said a year ago. Anybody who has any issues in front of the NLRB, sue them. And use the D.C. Circuit Court's decision today as a basis for your suit. Sue them. Because you'll win, at least as of today. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Over at the Drudge Report, 60% of Detroit children in poverty. Well, wait a minute. I thought Detroit was utopia. Much like California, much like Illinois, much like all the bluest of the blue areas, may I say. The Dianne Frankenfeinstein gun control bill over on Drudge would exempt government officials. Well, of course. Obamacare they're exempt from, and Social Security they're exempt from, and of course gun control they're exempt from. It's we, the people, who need to be controlled and molded and reshaped. Obama's grassroots group using the Newtown massacre of children to raise money. Well, of course, because their purpose is so noble. So noble. Walmart finances Obama's tax-exempt campaign. Well, of course. Why shouldn't they? Shouldn't everybody? And so it goes, as we say. Jan, Fort Worth, Texas, the great WBAP. Go.
Hi, are you there?
Good. How are you, Jan?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Gotta say, I have listened to you for years. I used to live in New Jersey, and I listened to you in the evenings, and often I would laugh because you cracked me up. But before the election, there was a young man who called in, and he couldn't quite decide if he was a Democrat or Republican, how he was going to vote. And you sat with that kid for the longest time, talking with him about what it meant to be a Republican and how important the Constitution was. And you turned it around. And I was so impressed and so thrilled. And I have been listening to you every single night since. I mean, I listen to you when I can, when I'm in the car. Yeah. But I just got to say, how you have been, no, I'm taking a long time getting to the point, I'm sorry. How you've been teaching everyone the Constitution and what it really means so much to me, and I'm learning so much from you, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I really hope these idiots who call in just to rabble-rouse would actually listen to what you were saying rather than trying to prove a point. I think it could turn them around, too. I'm just amazed that people don't listen, you know?
You know, Jan, there's a certain percentage, and I've come to realize this over the years, that are simply what I call drones. There's nothing I can say, you can say, there's nothing George Washington himself could have said to get through to these people. They're gone. They've either surrendered their souls and their minds or they've been conquered, but they're gone. And the key is to try and make sure there's more of us than them. There are people in the middle, and I don't mean the political middle, who really aren't engaged or who really haven't thought about things. Those are the people I want to get to. But the drones are gone.
Yeah.
All right, my friend?
It is one of my duties, I feel, to try to get the middle people as well. I just want to thank you. I think you're wonderful.
Well, you're very sweet.
And I want you to continue doing what you're doing.
God bless you.
That's all I needed to say.
All right, Jan. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Barry, Scranton, Pennsylvania, the great WTWR. Go.
I can't believe I got through. Oh,
Here we are.
It's such a privilege to talk to you.
Thank you, my friend.
I started listening to you about 6 months ago. I've seen you on Hannity many times, but I finally found you on the radio. And I'll tell you, I just want to congratulate you on your victory today, and hope for many more.
It was many groups and many people. We were just one of them. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and keep up the good work. And
by the way, is Joe Biden's home in Scranton like a national memorial or something?
Yeah, they have candles out front, and they light them. They're those candles they put on cemeteries, you know, that perpetual candles. Yeah, they worship him.
So his home is a national monument to what? National monument to stupidity? We'll be right back.
Some people talk about the Tea Party. We are the Tea Party. Call in now. 877-381-3811.
Yes, and you drones out there can thank us for your liberty. By the way, a huge mistake. I apologize to our wonderful affiliate in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's WTRW. I know that, but I misread it. WTRW. Thank you. UFC tomorrow. That would be Saturday night Eastern Time, 8 to 10 p.m. It's on FX, and those are the prelims, and they're free. And then, what is it? And then Fox. Oh, it's not pay-per-view? Oh, it's free for everybody. So, and then at 10 p.m. it goes over to the main Fox channel. Those of you who haven't watched UFC, check it out. And by the way, they don't pay me or anything. I just like it. Roy, Eugene, Oregon, the great KLOO. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, sir. Will this decision, in your opinion, give permission to the other courts to finally start judging BO?
I don't know. I mean, when you look at the two main failures by the U.S. Supreme Court during the Obama term, you have Obamacare, which was a disgrace, and what John Roberts did will always be considered a disgrace, and there's no way he can correct course as far as I'm concerned. And the immigration decision, where Kennedy jumped ship and empowered Obama to do by executive order what the law does not provide. So those are two massive power grabs by this president, upheld by Republican justices, at least individual justices in that case, joining the left-wing radicals. Now, that said, I mean, the courts know what their job is. The job of a court is to uphold the Constitution. That's all. It's that simple. Uphold the Constitution. Now, there may be some disagreement on certain aspects of it. You know, for instance, Clarence Thomas and Antonin Scalia, two of my favorites, they don't always agree. And Alito doesn't always agree, another one of my favorites with them. But the point is to earnestly try and divine what the framers intended. We call it originalism. That is the only legitimate way to interpret the Constitution. That's the job of the courts. I have no problem with that. But when they sit there as a constitutional convention and just make these decisions, and that's what John Roberts did. John Roberts doesn't even understand the tax provisions of the Constitution. I doubt there's a single justice who does, because it's never been really heavily looked into, at least not in recent years, particularly as it applies the way Roberts applied it. So, but this is a long way in saying, no, it won't encourage or discourage other courts. Obama's been trying to load the courts up with left-wing judicial crackpots from day one. And by the way, this whole fight over the filibuster, I believe that's what's really intended there. The Democrats are trying to lay the path for Obama to ram through scores and scores of whack job law professors, ACLU criminal defense lawyer types, terrorist defense counsel, and so forth, and load up our courts with these people so that the executive branch, the administrative branch, as I call it, the courts, and the Senate are all loaded up with ideological radicals. Have I helped you, sir?
Yes, very much. I've been listening to the news all day today, and so looking forward to your show because I knew how Landmark Legal Foundation was involved in it, and I was so looking forward to hearing your take on it. But my heart just is like been holding back going, will they simply just pull the Hillary argument of what difference does it make, you know?
Well, and by the way, you heard one of the callers say that.
Yeah, yes, and I've heard others on other radio talk shows while I've been waiting for you, the same sort of thing, and I've been like, oh.
Well, it makes a huge difference because at least one little piece of the Constitution still stands.
Well, I thank you, sir, for encouraging, and I please continue to encourage businesses like you have been doing, that if they have NLRB issues, to sue them as ultra vires rogue agency.
Amen, my brother. Well, God bless you. Eugene, Oregon, that's right. And, you know, I don't know if they still do, but the Philadelphia Phillies farm team, or one of their minor league teams, I mean, used to be based in Eugene, Oregon. I don't know if that's still the case. Just a little fact that nobody else gives a damn about. All right, let's continue, shall we? Let us go. Allison, Chicago, Illinois, on the Internet. How are you?
Oh, fine, Mark. Congratulations. And I do believe that the founders knew this day was coming, and they were so hoping people like you would defend their genius.
Well, man, I tell you, I've said before, Allison, I feel like I'm in the wrong time in history. I would have. Oh, well, if I could have just been the kid cleaning the spittoons at Independence Hall during the discussions about the Declaration or the Constitution, or in Boston for that matter. You know, I just. Anyway, here we are.
They fear this, and every little victory gives us hope. And my question for you is, these defiant little proxy tyrants in the NLRB, if they're not actually legally appointed, can they be personally liable for any damages they inflict on anyone withstanding?
Well, I would think at this point, I'm not sure. I don't know what all the rules are there. Personally liable, I don't think so. But it seems to me that if some business is expending money to try and defend itself in front of this rogue board, this rogue agency, then it should seek damages in the sense of at least reimbursing their legal fees.
Well, I don't think they would.
And let me add one other thing. If there are lawyers on this board, and I'm sure there are, then these businesses should consider raising their unethical conduct with their relevant Supreme Court ethics committee.
Yes, I would. I don't think they would be so principled if they were not shielded in some way.
Mm-hmm. All right, Allison. By the way, how is the creepy little ballerina doing, the mayor of your grand city?
Don't even get me started. It is just worse. It is a disaster here. I just cannot wait to get out of this.
He's a real punk. I'll say that. That's right. I said it. Tough guy, the little ballerina. That's right, Rom, you little punk. There, I said it. Thank you, Allison. Little jerk. I saw him on TV the other day waving his hands around. I didn't realize he cut off a finger. He cut off a finger, Mr. Producer. Did you know that? Well, what did he cut it off? Slicing bologna or something? Will you Google that? Will you find? How did he lose his finger? Cut off his finger, the little schmuck. Yeah, let's take another call, shall we? Let us go to Barbara, Panama City, the great WYOO. How are you?
I'm fine. Mark, how are you tonight?
Very well, thank you.
Great. Hey, in 2 years, if the Democrats take the House and they keep the Senate, what kind of shenanigans do you think this dictator is going to be capable of doing?
Oh, I can only imagine how ugly that's going to get, how bad it's going to get, and how lawless it's going to get. Not us, but them.
Right.
I can only imagine.
It's kind of scary to think about it.
It's scary to think about, and this is what Boehner's counting on. You know, we got to help these clowns stay in office. Excuse me, I can't use the word clowns. We got to help keep these people in office, not because we like them, but to stop the other guys. And so this is why these primaries are so darn important.
Right.
All right, my friend, take care. Panama City, Florida. You know what, Mr. Producer? Panama. Is Panama a country, a decent country to live in? Why am I asking you? What the hell do you know? You're in the Bronx. I'm just curious. He severely cut his right middle finger on a meat slicer. I was close. I said cutting bologna. Did I not? Emmanuel severely cut his right middle finger on a meat slicer. So in other words, he can't even give you the finger unless it's the left hand. Is that correct, Mr. Producer? So he basically has a midget middle finger on the right hand. Yeah. What a little puke. Yeah, His Honor, with all due respect. Kind of jerk rises to the level of mayor of Chicago. Let's continue, shall we? Chris, Frederick, Maryland, the great WMAL. Go.
Hey, Mark, first off, I just want to say that sound clip you played a while ago when Obama said that he wouldn't let the minority in the Senate stop him, that just proves that he's not only for minorities.
Ah, there you go.
No, but I wanted to say, what makes this president so uniquely deceptive, you think, to just kind of sidestep all this stuff? Like, why didn't other presidents before him find all these loopholes like he does?
Well, I assume this is a rhetorical question. Some president tried. FDR, Wilson had nothing but contempt for the Constitution and the Declaration. So there's a long history of this kind of animus toward the rule of law and our founding and our heritage in the Democrat Party. In addition to the Democrat Party's position on slavery, which it fought for, and segregation, which it fought for, and on and on and on. And it does not have a pleasant past, the Democrat Party. That's not to say its modern members agree with that, but it has a very seedy, disgusting past, to be perfectly honest about it. But this president is different than the others because he's making a sprint for the finish line. And the finish line is to finish off this free, prosperous, magnificent society as fast as he can. He looks at the clock. He says, I got 4 more years. I got to do as much damage as I can to take down this country. So thank you for your call. That's Chris, Frederick, Maryland, in the blue state of Maryland. Maryland is kind of the East Germany of America, I would say, Mr. Producer, given Governor O. Stupid, who is the governor in Maryland. But I want to tell you about the Tea Party Patriots. You've heard me say it before. I can barely contain my fury about what's happening to America. But what keeps me going is this. America's been in serious trouble before. Remember Jimmy Carter? I know, let's forget. But America came back. We restored American greatness and American exceptionalism. I was there when it was done, working with President Ronald Reagan. And I want to show you how it's done. From the inside, with those who saved America before. Here's what you do. Join me and the great Tea Party Patriots for an important, free, national town hall with Reagan revolutionaries like me. First up, Ronald Reagan biographer and my dear friend Craig Shirley giving you the inside story on how to rekindle American exceptionalism and how Reagan did it. Join us February 10th for this free Patriot Town Hall. Now, you can't get in unless you register, and you might be saying, well, geez, it's January 25th. It's Doug Levin's birthday, my older brother, who I adore. We got plenty of time. No, you don't have plenty of time. Register now at patriothall.com. That's one word, patriothall.com, and we'll call you when it starts. What do I mean we'll call you? I'll call you when it starts. That's right. Go to patriottownhall.com. I will call you for a town hall to save America. Now, when was the last time you got a call from me? So you have to register now, and here's why. Space is limited. So patriottownhall.com. We kick this off on February 10th. That's patriothall.com.
Mark Levin.
All right, let's see. Let us go to Chris, New Jersey, the great WABC. Go.
Hey, Mr. Levin. I just wanted to say thank you so much because I'm 18. I've been listening to you ever since I was a junior in high school. And you've been like a teacher and like a guide to me. So thank you very much.
Wow. Well, thank you.
And I just want to I've been trying to call you for a while, but I'm a little nervous speaking too.
Relax,
anyway,
all is well.
I just had a class in college. I just started this, and it was a reading and writing class, very basic, and yet I walked in and this professor started outright just saying, listen, if this is what he basically said, if you're looking to become successful, then you're a piece of trash.
Whoa.
And then
is that what he said?
And then he continued saying that the Constitution is unneeded and that it's not good for this country. So I asked him, why, to explain himself, and he couldn't really explain himself. He's just going around giving, all this liberal.
Is this an old guy who has tenure, a young guy, or what is this?
He's an older guy, I would say in his early 70s, and he said he was part of those Occupy movements too.
So this is a tenured professor at a college who we taxpayers are subsidizing.
Exactly, and exactly. And, I actually prepared myself for the next class. I was going to ask him, listen.
Well, first of all, there's something to what he said, successful people. He wouldn't know about successful people because look at him, he's a schmuck.
Yeah.
He's up there lecturing students and trying to pervert their thinking and destroy their belief in the country. Now, let me ask you a question. Why don't you ask the administration if you can get out of the class? I mean, there's no point in being in that class.
No, it's not. And I actually just today, I went and told them everything, and I'm going to get out of this class.
Yeah, I honestly, I would say
writing course.
It's reading and writing, and you got a moron. And so the point is that you're not going to learn a lot about reading and writing. And he thinks he's taking advantage of his position. He's taking advantage. This is why I do not believe in tenure for professors or teachers. I absolutely don't. I don't have tenure. Nobody has tenure, but apparently they have tenure. I don't believe in it because this jerk, this old quasi-senile jerk ought to be thrown out on his ass and have to work in the private sector like the rest of us and compete. And if he can't, he should be standing in a food line with homeless people. Instead, he's subsidized, he's got a pension, he gets health care from the very people he hates, and then he destroys our children, destroys their minds with their propaganda. This guy is no damn good. You're right. Transfer the hell out of his class, because you're not going to learn reading and writing from him.
Not at all.
Now, before you do that, I want to send you a signed copy of Ameritopia. I'd like you to read it and then put it on his desk with a bow tied around it and say, this is from Mark Levin. He said, read it.
Thank you, Mr. Levin.
And if you have any questions, Professor, call his show.
That's right.
All right, Chris, get the hell out of that class. Now, don't hang up. I'm going to send you a signed copy of Ameritopia. All right. See, that's child abuse. And it's going on throughout this country, in colleges and universities and high schools and middle schools, all over the country. These pukes with their they're dressed up with their long ponytails and dressed up with their stupid ties with their soup stains on it. I have a mental image of this guy, Mr. Producer. up there with his horn-rimmed glasses. Young students come in, first day in class, trying to be provocative. He's a punk. He's a puke. Get the hell out of the class. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. It's hour 3, our final hour. I am Mark Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Man, is it cold where I am. I can't stand the cold. So why am I here? Well, I'll have to work that one out, won't I? I mean, the news, it's just hard not to comment on it. Cheerleading stocks again. Well, it's almost at a record high. So I guess capitalism is good right now, right? Except when Romney was running, they were bashing greed. Oh, my God, look at what he's worth. By the way, our buddy Howie Carr, the great WRKO in Boston, has a very good column today. He's a very good writer in the Boston Herald. And he says, among other things, how did John Kerry make all this money? How is it that he's worth over $100 million? Now, we know from his first marriage he inherited a bunch, but I seem to recall it was in the $10, $20 million range. But he's worth over $100 million. He's worth like $193 million, give or take. How did that happen? Well, Mark, through his marriage. No, I'm talking about these are separate assets. Which Carr points out. And how come that's not an issue, or wasn't one, during his testimony the other day? Nobody gave a damn. Despite the fact that the Democrats were, focused like a laser on Romney's wealth, no questions about Kerry's wealth, his various investments overseas, nothing at all. Now he's going to be at the State Department. And the putative news website, the left-wing Politico, by the way, I want to thank you, Politico. You finally have stopped putting my name in any of your stories, and that's good, which is why I've stopped posting some of your stuff on my social sites and exposing you for what you are. But over at Politico, Darren Samuelson and Jonathan Allen. John Kerry, Mr. Climate. Obama's chief global climate cop won't be stationed at the EPA or on the White House staff. He'll be at the State Department. This story was filed early this morning. Obama's choice of Kerry as the nation's top diplomat is the strongest signal to the international community and the smart set in Washington's political class, that means liberal nut jobs, that the president is truly committed to striking deals designed to save the world. Oh, good Lord. You know what this means, ladies and gentlemen? International arrangements that violate our sovereignty, international taxation, international climate change, all this crap. And the Republicans don't even challenge Kerry. Add that to his mention of climate change in his inaugural address, and it's giving hope to Greens. And as I say, the Greens are the new Reds. That Kerry will make climate change a key part of his portfolio at Foggy Bottom. Foggy Bottom is where the State Department is. Kerry has spent years... I will pass on that phrase for now, although there are many thoughts that have actually crossed my mind, but I could get in trouble. Kerry has spent years working on the issue in Congress and around the globe. His name was on the last real climate change legislation, a Kerry Lieberman bill, that never made it out of the Senate. He's a regular at international conferences, once flying halfway around the globe to spend a few hours on the ground during UN-led talks in Bali, Indonesia. And he, like outgoing Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, will have the ability to explain the world to the Senate and the Senate to the world. Oh, Politico, you're so Robert Frost-like. In both venues, Kerry is Mr. Climate. And Obama's decision to bring the Massachusetts Democrat onto the cabinet struck some administration officials and allies as a bold statement on the president's climate change intentions. Obviously, he has enormous credibility. I think that's going to help, said Phil Shaliro. I think Shaliro used to work for Schumer, but I could be wrong. Former Obama White House legislative director. Combine that with the fact that the president has such a commitment to the issue, and it sends a good signal. Does this scare you yet? Does this scare you yet that the American-hating, that's right, I said it, the American-hating John Kerry will now be at the State Department, pushing his international climate change and other international agenda issues to remake the world. And the world will be a happy place. We know that because Politico said so. Now, Kerry didn't tip his hand at his hearing Thursday when Senator Barbara Boxer, chairwoman of the Environmental and Public Works Committee, pushed him on what he'd do on the Keystone Pipeline. So it goes on and on and on. So many people who hate America get so wealthy off of her. So many people who hate America serve in high places in our government. It's just so counterintuitive. I mean, unless you understand Marx and so forth. But, I mean, when you step back and think about it, it's so counterintuitive. These people are enormously successful as a result of living in this country. I mean, John Kerry wouldn't be successful anywhere else, Mr. Producer. He wouldn't be successful anywhere else. What can the man do? Barbara Boxer, look at her. She wouldn't be successful anywhere else. Look at her. She's a senator forever from California. Same with Barack Obama. He wouldn't be successful anywhere else. Otherwise, these people are really nobodies in so many respects in terms of what they've done prior to climbing the ladder of politics. But this is going to be, I will tell you right now, John Kerry is going to be more damaging to this country as Secretary of State than Hillary Clinton was. And by the way, this isn't a promotion for Hillary Clinton. She was bad enough, this Democracy Project and all the rest, and Benghazi and so forth. But John Kerry's going to be worse, in part because he's dumber than Hillary Clinton. But he has ambitions that exceed the borders, extend beyond our borders, and he will use this as an opportunity to impose them wherever he can. All right. It's Friday. Let's take a few more calls. Let us go to Paul, Wilmington, North Carolina, Sirius Satellite. How are you?
Hey, doing great, Mark. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the work you do.
Thank you.
I have a question for you concerning the unconstitutional overriding of the Welfare Reform Act put in place by Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton. How would one go about bringing suit against the Obama administration for that unconstitutional act?
Well, you can't just bring suit every time there's a policy you disagree with, and so I'm not sure a lawsuit could be brought. Sometimes you can't resolve these things in court. Sometimes you got to resolve them at the, during the election.
Yeah, another missed opportunity.
One of the other ways to resolve it that the founders created was the impeachment process, but that ain't going to happen. Even though I could list 10 reasons now why Obama should be impeached, but politically it's simply not going to happen. All right, my friend, you're on the road. Are you a trucker?
No, I commute back and forth hour home. I work for a coffee company.
Really? Well, we have something in common. You work for a coffee company and I drink it. All right, my friend, God bless us. Take care, although I don't drink a lot of it. I drink a lot more Diet Coke, and although I don't drink a lot of that either, but I like it. All right, here. How about Brian, Omaha, Nebraska, the great KKAR? It's so much better, isn't it, that you have Fisher now and not Nelson?
Absolutely, Mr. Levin. Good evening, and thank you, and congratulations to your foundation for the excellent victory today. My question, and I hate to give you another legal question, was read the news today, and I saw that Mary Emanuel had sent some letters to a couple banks. Rahm Emanuel?
Oh, Emanuel, right?
Yes. He sent a couple letters, and one of them was to Bank of America, asking them to withdraw the credit, like a business line credit that they have to gun makers. Now, my question is, and I know it's not constitutional.
Before we go on, let me say this to the people of Chicago. Your mayor wants to start boycotts like this. Your mayor wants to put the mob arm on companies like this. There are millions and millions of gun owners in this country, and an enormous number of people whose livelihoods depend on them. And I would hate to see them boycotting Chicago for events and so forth because your mayor is such a moron. So I don't recommend that the creepy ballerina make threats to Bank of America or anybody else when it comes to guns and so forth. Or I fear that what will happen will be a backlash against Chicago by millions of gun owners outside of Illinois who won't go to conventions and do events in Chicago. So the mayor is a very, very stupid man. He's a very stupid man. It's also a reason why you've got a huge murder rate in Chicago, a huge gang problem, and he's running in Washington, D.C., running around, going to seminars and having a grand old time.
I agree. My other question was, since I'm a shareholder in one of those banks, not that I would or I could, but would there be any, standing? Because
All right, here's the deal. You're going to have to ask Bank of America whether they're standing or not, or hire a lawyer that does this stuff. This isn't lawyer on the line. Thank you for your call. This isn't lawyer on the line. Some of the other talk show hosts, they get paid on the weekend to take calls about, rent. And, hey, I was entered into this contract. I forgot to read paragraph E. Do I have any recourse? Or, my ex-wife, she ran away with the silver. What can I do? I don't do this stuff. All right, we'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Can I ask you folks a question? It's a very serious question. I mentioned this maybe a month ago, 5 weeks ago, during the gun debate, which is still brewing out there. Do we know which of our public officials has mental health issues? In other words, who's kind of nutty? Why don't we? Shouldn't there be a mental health check and a background check on every member of Congress before they're sworn in, and quite frankly on the President and the Vice President of the United States? The President of the United States and right behind him the Vice President of the United States have more access to guns, maybe not themselves, but, to the military and the use of force than any two people on the face of the earth. So shouldn't those two, Obama and Biden, go through background checks, including mental health checks. I only bring this up because on the Drudge Report, and he has a very appropriate photo of Biden looking like a nut, talking about the need for mental health checks, Vice President Biden says, according to ABC News, a mental health check on gun sales may have averted the 2007 mass shooting on Virginia Tech's campus. So we're going to have now this long list of American citizens, this national, if they have their way, registry database of law-abiding American citizens who own firearms legally under the Second Amendment, and now apparently Biden wants people to have mental health checks before they can buy guns. I mean, how is this supposed to work? Where are they going to send that information to? Who's going to make that decision? Which department? Which official? Which bureaucrats? This is sounding awfully 1930s to me, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to say it, but it's getting way, way out of control. Does anybody know if Joe Biden is mentally healthy? Does anybody know if Harry Reid is mentally healthy? Does anybody know if Barack Obama is mentally healthy? And while I'm at it, John Boehner and all the rest? With all the power they have. Should not the commander-in-chief go through a mental health examination and a background check, and then we can all find out what's going on? I mean, if we have to do it, why can't he? And why is it assumed that people in public office are mentally healthy? Why is it assumed? You know, when I wrote Men in Black about the Supreme Court, a number of the justices that I wrote about at the beginning of the book were or became mentally ill. And I'm not saying this to be controversial. I'm making a point. How many of our public officials are drunks? A lot of them. Well, why don't we know about it? If they have a drinking problem. Obama used to be a druggie. A druggie, marijuana and cocaine. He was a druggie. I was never a druggie. He's president. But they have to do a mental health background check on all of us? This is what Biden's proposing. So understand what their comprehensive Second Amendment control issue is. They're going to ban over 150 weapons if they get their way. If they actually had their way, they would have a national database of everybody who owns a firearm. You'd have to re-up every year, every 5 years, whatever it is, for a clean background check. If Biden had his way, you cannot purchase any weapons without a mental health examination. We don't even know who's going to do these examinations. So they have another list. They're going to know all about your finances when you file your tax returns with the IRS. They're going to know all about your other medical issues when Obamacare kicks in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is supposed to be our damn government. I'll be right back.
The one-man antidote for liberal media bias, Mark Levin. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
David, Boston, Massachusetts, the great WRKO country. How are you, sir?
Hey, Mark. How you doing? Love your show.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, a small victory here, and congratulations. I just have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
On a constitutional kind of issue.
Mm-hmm.
Why does this have to be litigated in this fashion, and why isn't the Congress and the Senate doing more to defend their own turf? I mean, it's obviously a huge threat to the country and to the Congress and the Senate. Why weren't they doing anything?
This is a very, very important question. Number one, Senate Republicans were involved in this lawsuit through their own lawyer and brief. But your question goes to really the legislative process. Why isn't Congress defending its own turf, correct?
That's right.
I'm going to tell you why. Because Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer and John Kerry and all the rest of the riffraff up there, when their guy's in power, they will do anything humanly possible to ensure that they can do as much as they can to this country, regardless of the Constitution's restraints. So they're even willing to surrender the authority of Congress, in this case the Senate, if it means that Obama can accomplish the ends regardless of the means. Now, when a Republican becomes president, they'll jump up and down and talk about impeachment and talk about limits and do all the rest. These are very, very diabolical people who have embraced a very treacherous ideology, who are doing enormous destruction to this nation. And so that's my answer to your question.
Does the Congress have any standing in this situation, or is it only up to the Senate? And since the Dems are in majority, they can get away with this?
Well, the House did have some standing in terms of the lawsuit because the way it works is both houses have to agree. One house has to agree to the other house's decision to recess. So one can't recess and the other not recess. I mean, they can in terms of timing, but ultimately they can't.
But the House, couldn't the House have said, and the Republicans in the House have said, hey, we weren't in recess.
They did say that. And Boehner joined, I'm trying to tell you, they did say that. And Obama said, I don't care. The Senate's out, and as far as I'm concerned, the Senate's in recess, and I'm making my appointments.
And did this have to be litigated in a court case like this? Or
all right, sir. Well, how else would we resolve it?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
No, I'm asking you. I just went through all the scenarios. You have a Senate that has surrendered its authority to Obama. You have a House that did what it did. It participated in the lawsuit. The Republicans in the Senate did. If both houses together aren't going to protect Congress's authority, then Congress's authority is not going to be protected by Congress.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So you basically have Harry Reid and the Senate Democrats conspiring with Obama to weaken the Senate, at least during Obama's tenure. The framers never imagined such a thing. Never. And let me tell you something else. I talked about this last week. When FDR, early in his second term when he was reelected, tried to pack the court, and by the way, it would have been perfectly constitutional, but he tried to pack the court and increase the number from 9 to 14, 5 new justices because they were knocking down his New Deal programs. The Democrats, who controlled the Congress, said no. His vice president, who'd been the Speaker of the House before, actively worked against the president in the House of Representatives to stop his own president. The vice president did. You don't even see any of that today. There's absolutely no integrity whatsoever. All right. Thank you for your call, my friend. Let us go to Tracy in New Jersey, the great WABC. Yes, Tracy.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for doing what you do. I have a question about the recess appointments.
Yes.
Does the decision today have any implications for previous recess appointments and the decisions that those people made during their recess appointment?
I doubt it. I mean, I don't think we're going to reverse every administrative decision and so forth that's been made over the last several decades. So I would suggest no now. But I would tell you that going forward, as Obama likes to say, these NLRB decisions are without authority and they're lawless. Because those 3 individual members, according to the circuit court, has said that they were appointed unconstitutionally. So, in essence, they don't exist.
So are there previous appointments that would be considered or should be considered unconstitutional based on...
Well, there are, but the point is, I'm saying you're not going to be able to go back and undo all that stuff. How can you?
Well, I guess not. Okay,
it's a very good question, but I don't see how it can be accomplished.
Right. Well, if people said that, would they be right?
Well, they can say it, but then they have to litigate it, and the court has to agree with them.
Right.
All right. Thanks for your call. Everybody sounds so sleepy out there right now, Mr. Producer. I'm sitting here eating my raisins. Used to be sitting here eating my Milk Duds. Eating my raisins. And they're very good raisins. Sun-made. That's the kind of raisins I get, Mr. Producer. Do you eat raisins at all? I eat the Sun-made. But you do eat raisins? You do. You, chocolate-covered, we call those raisinets. Oh, I love those. But I can't eat them right now. Now, Mr. Call Screener, do you ever eat raisins? Have you ever eaten fruit, as a matter of fact? Is he there, Mr. Call Screener? Let me ask you a question. Did you forget to press the button? He's talking to me, ladies and gentlemen, without pressing the button, so I can't even hear him. All right, you're very busy. Forget the fruit question. All right, let's go. Laura, Illinois, Sirius Satellite, how are you?
Good. How are you this evening?
Very well, thank you.
I have a question. I'm just, you know what, why don't us as Americans apply pressure to the senators and say, you know what, we're going to, take you, not take you down, but you're committing a crime with the president, so if you want to, go to jail with this man, then,
All right, slow down. Nobody's going to jail because it's not, hold on now, it's not a crime. Nobody's going to be impeached because the Republicans in the House don't have the guts, the politics for them, they don't believe works. As for pressuring senators, you've got this senator who I call Little Dick Durbin. Little Dick Durbin is the number 2 Democrat in the Senate. He's in on all this. So he keeps getting reelected from your state. And so the pressure needs to be on people like him. And if you keep calling his office, what do you think that's going to do? Nothing?
It is doing nothing because I call all the time.
Right.
We, write, call, and the problem is that they keep incorporating all these different cities into what they call, Chicago, and like they did with, I forgot his name, Aaron Schock, and, they just redistrict, and they're just making it impossible to get rid of these guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've got to find some answers somewhere else, and I think there are some answers somewhere else. I'm just, I'm trying to get my thoughts together in a few months so I can present at least my point of view. But here's one other thing, Lauren. You're not going to like to hear this. You're not going to want to hear this. Sometimes the situation gets so bad you got to pick up and leave. Yeah. I'm not encouraging people to do this, but people are doing it. These blue states are being depopulated by the very citizens who live there because they've had enough. And there's too many drones in these states where you can't outvote them. You can see it in New York right now. You can see it in Maryland right now. You can see it in your state, Illinois, right now, and in California right now. So people are leaving. That's why Illinois' population has gone down. Michigan's population has gone down. New York's population has gone down. California's population of at least productive people has gone down, and you can see the movement of people out of these states into other states.
Yeah. I don't know about, boycotts or anything, but I so want to show, across the country that we do have a voice. And then what happened with the Chick-fil-A thing with Mike Huckabee, I would, love to do more of that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Are you active in any way with like your local Tea Party?
Oh, I've been doing it for 8 years, more so than I've been dealing with Barack Obama since he was a senator. I don't like a lot of.
No, but I mean, are you active? Are you active with the local Tea Party, as an example?
Absolutely, but it becomes frustrating because after you write and call and...
It's not about writing and calling liberals who hate your guts. It's about organizing some more. Let me suggest you at least consider joining in a more formal way a local Tea Party. Take a look at the Tea Party Patriots. That's a group I'm affiliated with, and there are other Tea Party groups, other organizations, Americans for Prosperity and so forth. And become more active, because even if you can't change your specific neighborhood, there are things you can do.
Okay, that's all.
All right, my friend. Thank you for your call. There's no magic answer, ladies and gentlemen. We can't crack open fortune cookies and, my God, there's the answer in one sentence. It doesn't work that way. This is hard work. Liberty is hard work. It's much easier to support tyranny, which is why all the drones do, which is why all the knuckleheads do. Gimme, 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 take, take, take. I deserve. It's my right. Don't call me that. You know, that sort of thing. Go to my PC. Horrible weather. Horrible weather can severely affect your ability to get to the office. Roads closed. There's major traffic. Many of us know this. Many of us are experiencing it right now. But just because you can't make it into the office doesn't mean business stops. That's why I love Go to My PC by Citrix. You can access your entire office computer from home, so you don't have to risk a dangerous commute or worry about falling behind on a project. Go to My PC is the secure remote access tool that allows you to connect to your Office Mac or PC from any other computer or mobile device. A friend of mine sent me an email and he said, you know, I just signed up for Go to My PC. This really works. This is really great. I said, well, what do you think I've been telling you all these years? Go to My PC is my lifeline to my work computer. I can access all my files, programs, and network from wherever I am, whenever I need to. Be prepared. Set up Go to My PC right now, today. It just takes a few minutes, and it's very, very easy to use. Go to My PC keeps me connected to my office, even if the dangerous, icy roads keep me away. So, let's do this right now. Try Go to My PC free today with a special 45-day free trial, just for you. Download the free app to your mobile device. Download the free app to your mobile device. Then, visit GoToMyPC.com, click the Try It Free button, and enter the promo code MARK. Make sure you visit GoToMyPC.com, click the Try It Free button, and enter the promo code MARK.
Mark Levin.
Mike in New York, the great WABC. How are you, sir?
Yes, sir, Mark. It's a conservative bus driver. How are you? I know we got a little short time. Just to answer your question about background checks for the Congress people, we got Dr. Sinister, Nancy Stretch Pelosi. We got to pass health care before we know what's in it. That's just brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Then we got Uncle Joe Biden talking to a third-grade class about that people got to pay their fair share. Class warfare to a third-grade class. And I'm driving a bus. This is a circus show. Then
You're
you
not
got
kidding.
Four people that died in Benghazi. And Secretary Clinton. I don't care. It's incredible.
Oh, I don't care how it had. I don't care what caused it. I don't care how it started. They're dead. And hey, Mike, you're a good man, babe. I hope you'll call again,
Mark,
okay?
You're the best, Mark. I love you. You're the best. I listen to you all the time. You're great. I really appreciate the time, just to state that point. And I'm a rifle gun owner, and I believe in the Second Amendment.
Amen. God bless you. Love that bus driver. Bus drivers, truck drivers, taxi drivers, these are great people who listen to this program. I want to thank you all, and all of you, too. And in your honor, here's Ray Charles and America.
America.
success, be nobleness, and every gain divine. And you know, when I was in school, we used to sing it something like this. Listen here. Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain. But now wait a minute, I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know, God done shed his grace on thee. He crowned thy good. Yes, he did. Heavy brotherhood from sea to shining sea. You know, I wish I had somebody to help me sing this. America, I love you, America. You see, my God, he done shed his grace on thee. You ought to love him for it, because he crowned thy good. He told me he would. Every brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, Lord, I thank you, Lord.
All right, my friends, the week is officially over. The weekend has officially begun. Happy birthday, Brother Doug. Wonderful brother. Good night, Spritey. Good night, Griffey. Good night, Pepsi. Good night, America. And good night, all you heroes out there. I'll see you on Monday, okay? I'm Mark Levin.
Welcome to Mafia, a new podcast telling stories of America's criminal underworld.
Gotti assumed the position of head of the Gambino family.
And using the name Donnie Brasco, I was able to infiltrate the Bonanno crime family in New York City.
Bugsy Siegel is an American mob legend.
One man changed the whole texture and landscape of crime in America.
Listen to Mafia every Wednesday on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite shows.